There's a supplement that's severely underrated, and it's a supplement that most people should probably take. It helps to lower cholesterol levels and heart disease, improve blood sugar control, and can be used to help treat irritable bowel syndrome. And I think the reason why it's underrated is that it's not a particularly exciting supplement, it's not going to generate headlines, and it's certainly not patentable, so pharma companies can't make money from it. I am, of course, talking about psyllium husk, and I highly recommend that you give this video a chance to explain the research behind psyllium husk, because it's incredibly compelling. Plus, there are 3 safety issues with psyllium husk that I go through at the end of the video. Psyllium husk is a high fiber powder, and fiber is the part of a plant that the digestive system can't break down. So the question is, if I already have a great diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables, why should I consider adding psyllium husk? Well, in a massive meta-analysis published in the Lancet Journal in 2019, involving 185 prospective studies and 58 clinical trials with over 4,600 adult participants, it found that those who had the highest dietary fiber intake compared to those that had the lowest fiber intake had a 15 to 30% decrease in the risk of all-cause and cardiovascular death rates, as well as decreases in heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, and colorectal cancer. Crucially, it was a dose-response curve which suggests that higher dietary fiber intakes can confer even greater benefits. And you can see that quite clearly on the graphs here, that as fiber intake increases, the risk of all-cause death rates decreases. And it's the same for heart disease. As fiber intake increases, the risks of heart disease decreases. From that large body of evidence, it suggests that the more fiber a person has in their diet, the greater benefits they'll receive, up until a point of course. So fiber can be used to treat constipation, for example, but if you have too much, it can actually make the constipation worse, so you need to listen to your body. And I'll go through how to find the perfect dose of psyllium husk for you at the end of the video. Now, whenever looking at research like this, we need to look at who funded the study. So with the exception of the WHO, the funders of the study had no role in the study design, data collection, data analysis, or interpretation. Overall, the authors of this large study declare no competing interests. The other criticism of studies like this is, are we seeing a phenomenon called healthy user bias? For example, people who have more fiber in their diet may be practicing other healthy life habits. So are we seeing these positive results because of the fiber or because of the other healthy life habits? The analysis addresses this concern by stating that in the randomized controlled trials, higher intakes of dietary fiber reduced body weight and lowered blood cholesterol, as well as blood pressure. These findings are supported by cohort studies which report reduced risks of heart disease and mortality, as well as the risk of diabetes. The consistency between the trial and prospective study results, together with the dose-response relationships, provide support that an effect on metabolic diseases is likely to be causal and not a consequence of confounding variables. And the findings of this analysis are broadly similar to other reviews and meta-analyses. They finish by stating that these findings suggest that individual intakes of dietary fiber should be no less than 25 to 29 grams per day, with additional benefits likely to accrue with higher intakes. But unfortunately, the majority of individuals globally consume less than 20 grams per day. So whole fruits, vegetables, and legumes are absolutely number one, but given the dose-response relationship that we see, a strong case can be made to add in psyllium husk to an already healthy diet. But why psyllium husk rather than other types of fiber? Well, psyllium husk is primarily soluble fiber rather than insoluble fiber, meaning that it attracts water and turns into a gel during digestion. But in the Lancet analysis, broadly similar effects were apparent in both prospective studies and clinical trials when examining fiber from different food groups or fiber described as soluble or insoluble. But soluble fiber can be used to help treat irritable bowel syndrome. If we have a look at the clinical guidelines, soluble fiber should be offered to patients with irritable bowel syndrome, but the use of insoluble fiber should be avoided, such as bran, because it's not significantly better than placebo and it can cause bloating. And the clinical studies on psyllium husk show a significant benefit for irritable bowel symptoms. Furthermore, in those trials, psyllium husk has been shown to improve both constipation and diarrhea. fiber may increase the bulk of the stool and may include alterations in the production of fermentation products and changes to the gut microbiome. And our gut microbiome is receiving a lot of attention in the clinical research field at the moment. The bacteria that grow in our gut play important roles in human health, including protecting against pathogens, the development of the gut immune system, vitamin synthesis, and might be involved in complex gut-brain communication. And it's the availability of fiber in the diet that dominates the metabolism of the gut microbiome and leads to protection from conditions such as colorectal cancer. So if you want to look after your gut microbiome, feed it fiber, make sure you're having whole fruits and vegetables, legumes, and consider psyllium husk. On the other hand, expensive probiotic supplements are likely a waste, so probiotics are capsules that have got live bacteria in them. But as per the clinical guidelines, the evidence remains unconvincing for the benefits of probiotics. A number of trials have been done, many of which can be criticized for their methodologic limitations. Overall, we don't know which strains of bacteria and yeast should be included in these probiotic supplements, but again, we've already got a fantastic way to protect our gut microbiome, and that is fiber. But the other question is, what direct evidence do we have of psyllium husk's benefits? Yes, we've got lots of studies on fiber, but what about psyllium husk specifically? Well, a large 2023 meta-analysis found that psyllium significantly decreased insulin resistance, HbA1c, blood pressure, and fasting blood sugar levels, as well as total cholesterol. But before going off to purchase psyllium husk, there are 3 important safety points that we need to go through. The first one is that you need to select a great brand. Lead is a known contaminant in psyllium husk supplements. So when ConsumerLab.com, which is a third-party testing service, looked at psyllium husk brands, it picked Yerba Prima as their overall winner because of the very low lead content. But if people want to consider capsules as opposed to taking psyllium husk as a powder, then ConsumerLab.com found now psyllium husk capsules as the overall winner, but it still had 3 times the amount of lead compared to Yerba Prima whole psyllium husk. The second point is, what is the best dose of psyllium husk? Well, the dose needs to be personalized. What you want to do is start at a very low dose and slowly build up until you've maximized the benefits. You don't want to add in too much though, because too much can cause constipation and bloating, so you need to adjust the dose based on your response. If you do elect to take psyllium husk, make sure to take it with plenty of water, because as mentioned earlier in the video, psyllium husk, it attracts water and turns into a gel in the digestive tract. And the final concern that some people may have about psyllium husk is that it interferes with the absorption of other micronutrients. But from the research that we have at the moment, psyllium husk simply slows down the absorption, but it doesn't get in the way of the total absorption, so I hope that makes sense. Overall, while psyllium husk won't grab headlines, it's got a very strong evidence base, and most people should probably consider adding psyllium husk to an already healthy diet. If you do choose to supplement with psyllium husk, again make sure to start at a low dose and slowly build up. Personally for me, I take 7 grams of psyllium husk, but I built up to that point very slowly. And if you're looking for other supplements that have also got a strong evidence base, make sure to check out this next video here that goes through a new study looking at multivitamins and cognitive performance.